All right, you guys, thank you for waiting. We'll wait for people to come in and take their seats if you're interested in live music and touring.
Good problems to have. These things are alive.
If you made it, it doesn't mean you're still alive.
These things are a little low. It's a little weird. I'll just start getting underway. I'm Jeff Timer from the New Noise Music Foundation. I really appreciate you guys coming out and supporting this conference. It's 11 o'clock on a Saturday, and I know that's tough for musicians especially. But I see a few of you in the crowd, some of who played late last night, so really appreciate that. Have to thank some of our sponsors who basically allow us to do this, and in Kevin's words, actually, allow us to throw a party. Sponsors allow us to throw our party how we want to do it. So thank you to Sonos, great wireless music system. If you guys have seen it out there, go talk to Jasmine. Thank you to the Santa Barbara Arts Commission. New Noise is a nonprofit, and we couldn't, their support is essential to letting us put this on every year. This is our third year. And we're very appreciative of them. Playback Recording Studios. We have a litany on this little screen to my left. And they really do help us produce this thing and get it going. And all of our volunteers, we're volunteer run. All of our venues are primarily run by volunteers. And so we really want to recognize them and thank them. But we're here for live music and touring. So what we try to do at New Noise is bring together the best minds in technology and in music, and kind of see where they intersect and just discuss what you guys in the audience want to hear about. So to my right, Bill Lewis from Muddy Waters Cafe, a local venue here in Santa Barbara. Yes, shout outs to Bill. Bill is one of the big things in Santa Barbara is obviously having places to play. Bill works tirelessly, and as many of you know, if you're an artist or a promoter or in the music business, sometimes it's thankless, and Bill's there for, 12 hours, serving coffee in the morning, serving all ages wristbands at night. So he's a great mind and a great curator, so we're very excited and honored to have Bill here. To Bill's right is Eddie Numskull. So Eddie Numskull, yes please. Eddie Numskull, how long have you been doing shows for, Ed?
It'll be 22 years in March.
So yeah,
I just totally aged myself.
You don't look a day over 21, Dad.
Thank you, babe.
He started when he was 4.
Yeah, but Eddie's been a promoter in the Central Coast, up and down the coast now, I guess, right? LA, San Francisco, Fresno, Bakersfield, Santa Barbara, Ventura, Oxnard, wherever.
Yeah, all the D markets that no one cares about, apparently.
But he's a great promoter, great resource. Has also helped book a lot of this festival, so thank you to him. I'll let you guys do little intros too, but Scott Sterling from The Fold in Los Angeles. Have you guys heard of The Fold? It's a music venue, great venue. Scott, you want to say a few words about The Fold and what you guys do and what you're about?
Well, that's hard to summarize, but basically we started off doing shows. When I say we, I mean I started off doing shows at the Silver Lake Lounge, and some of the bands came out of there, grew a little bit too big for us, so we started booking some larger venues, and over the years we've booked different venues around. We've always kind of kept our home at Silver Lake Lounge, and now we've kind of consolidated back to doing the Bootleg Theater, started up there about 2 years ago, and we do 3 rooms there, and also still the shows at the Silver Lake Lounge. So do probably about 15 shows a week or something like that at small
that's
venues.
tough.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for coming, Scott. We appreciate it.
Sure.
To Scott's right is Marco DeSantis from Sugarcult. He also DJs. What's your DJ name now, Marco? DJ Jazzy Marco?
Yeah, I also do some DJing. But yeah, I'm from a band called Sugarcult. Started out in Santa Barbara, 1999. And about 2 years later, we made our first record and jumped on a little rock and roll circus called the Warped Tour that this guy puts together. And that really helped us, and went around the world a bunch of times, and happy to be here.
And you're having an anniversary of Start Static or something, right? Are you
It's a
doing
10-year anniversary right now of
Yeah.
our first record, Start Static, yeah.
Well, Sugarcult was one of the bands that, honestly helped put Santa Barbara on the map for music 10 years ago. And they wrote this great record, Start Static. It is their anniversary, so if you have not purchased it, please do. But they are playing some shows too. When are you playing a show? You have House of Blues, Anaheim?
We're doing a show in Anaheim, a 10-year anniversary show for Start Static with next month at Chain Reaction, actually.
Are we gonna do? Are we gonna do a Velvet Jones show or what?
I think we need to.
I think we
talk
do.
about it later.
Lost Kittens reunion.
Hey, Marco, I'm going to come clean for a second here. I've had man crushes on everybody in your band for the last decade.
All right. Well, did you know that this convention center is actually also a hotel? So maybe we can.
Whoa, be cool, guys, be cool. To Marco's right is Kevin Lyman. He was a speaker last year. He's the founder of Warped Tour, also for Finney, which produces a number of fun festivals, including a country festival, including a metal, I guess you would say, right, Kevin?
Yeah, Mayhem.
Metal Mayhem.
I guess Slipknot,
So-
Motorhead, or metal.
We're honored to have Kevin. He's a great mind. He was our one of our keynotes last year. We'll get into more intros, but really let's get into the meat of it. And like I said from the beginning, I really want to get into what you guys want. So we do have a wireless mic that will be floating around somewhere. But I think let's start with Bill, because he's right to my right. And please, guys, feel free to jump in. Just make sure your mics, I know it's kind of awkward because they're a little,
Chicka.
yeah, they're a little low, but how, from a perspective of, you get a lot of bands that want to play your venue. Santa Barbara has only a limited number of venues. What do you look for when a band says, or emails you and says, hey, I want to play? How do you choose, how do you curate your venue?
It depends. Sometimes we get bands where sometimes it's guys like you giving me the band or putting me into the band. We get bands that have never played a gig before, and primarily I'm looking at is this worth doing and can it actually be done? Like when we first started doing shows, there was almost a no to every question. You know, do you have a PA? No. Have you done shows before? No. Will anyone go to the show? No. And the first shows that we actually did were where the band's saying, okay, that's fine. We have a PA, or we've got a band in your area that we know that's our bros. They have a PA. They can get the word out because they're in your area. So can the show happen? And then after that, is there a date for it? And is there a lineup? And can it be promoted? I don't listen to the bands that are asking to play to see if I'm liking them. Like, do I like this? I'm really into this or whatever. I just want to see, is it good? And do I think there's people out there that want it?
Yeah, and that's a good distinction because some people, I think, I don't know, Scott could probably speak to this too. Do you like Bill was saying, do you book on primarily, well, you're doing 15 shows a week, so I probably already know the answer, but do you book stuff that you love, or do you book stuff that you think there's an audience for, and where's that fine line for you?
Well, it's always a balancing act, I suppose. But I mean, there's no one way. I kind of always liken it to, sort of finding a good date or something like this. Finding a new band there's a million ways to get referred to them. Usually, you get referred to them through people that you've already known.
Yeah.
And a cold email is usually a tough way to introduce yourself, whether it's on a dating site or through the email process of trying to get a gig.
I'm only on eHarmony, but
Let's say okay.
but you guys hear all right out there, just so you know? Yeah. All right, cool.
So obviously the best way to get yourself booked is to be a great band. Everything kind of stems from that. If you've spent all your time doing something interesting and making every show that you're going to do an event, then that comes through, whether it's a cold email or someone who I trust.
So what's the best
referring-
way that you, and Bill as well, what's the best way for bands, because you guys are busy, obviously, you run venues, you're not only like music curators, but you're small business owners. So if I'm in a band, Jeff Timer and the Plus Ones, which I've always wanted to start, oh, by the way.
It's a great band name.
It's a good name, right? How do I approach you guys, and Eddie as well, and definitely Kevin?
I think if the
what's the best
band-
way to approach? I mean, is it email?
I
Is
think
it a
you
phone call?
should have
Is it
Eddie
a-
call me.
Everything. Like if the band doesn't have a referral, because you develop shorthand with people that understand what you're doing and vice versa, that can say, check this band out, you'll love them. The right people saying that, you check them out because you know.
So advocates is what you're saying.
If you don't have that referral and you're cold calling, make sure you say everything that the venue needs to know, because if you call and you don't have it together, you're wasting someone's time. And everyone that I know that books stuff, whether it's on the venue end or they're a booker for bands or an agency or they just handle one band, is super busy and gets tons of emails and tons of calls. So you don't want to be the guy that can't give me the information that I need if it's a cold call.
So make it easy and,
Yeah.
and network, I think is the key. And go into the venue, introduce yourself, hang out for other shows. Eddie, what do you have?
Well, I think one thing you need to be aware of is you need to be patient.
Yeah.
We get a shit ton of emails. I'm not kidding. Like everybody on this board probably collectively have 2,000 emails in their box right now. We literally can't read them all. But be patient, be relentless, but be respectful too. And I know all your bands are really important, and we'll get to them, and eventually we will. But just really be patient. And that's all I ask.
So Kevin, you get quite a bit of emails from bands, I'm guessing, and you're probably getting them right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, it's all changed in the last 2 years. I think last year I was here, had just had my ankle surgery, so it might have been a combination of Percocet and everything I was on. But I kind of Vicodin, it was great. But, you know, it's kind of it's my new philosophy. I mean, and it really is for me on my festivals. I mean, I build these festivals because I love music, you know, and all of them, whether it's Warp, Mayhem, Throwdown, all this. But if I'm smart, I can book 20% of the bands, will sell 80% of the tickets. And I focus on this lineup. I mean, pretty much, and I look, and I just, that's all I'm doing is like, if I book the right lineup, everything else falls in place. So if I book those 20% of the right bands, the 80% of the other bands make a festival. And now I'm like influencing all kinds of music. And last summer we had a great year on Warped Tour. Numbers were way back up. It was a great summer. And this year it was all about that. And if I book that, then sponsors are happy, then your kids are happy, your bands, and your festival is known. And you know, it really comes down to that. Now I'm getting to book a lot more bands that I personally like. And I think the kids respond to it. You know, we're doing acoustic tents now on Warp this year. We're going to bring a silent disco with the headphones and just have a lot of fun with it. And it's gotten fun. But there are so many bands, and there's so many good bands right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it is crazy how many good
locally.
bands there are. I mean, I went out last night, saw a kid that I loved, and I was down in a conference in Atlanta, and they had 24 bands play and 21 song, and they had a little panel that was watching them, and 22 of them were good bands. You know, that kid forgot his words. I felt bad for him, but you know, it was really good. There's so much, so you've got to stand out. It's a business, and when you tell me an artist it's 11 o'clock in the morning, artists, get the fuck out of bed.
Yeah.
I mean,
Great.
your band needs to get out of bed and get to work. You know, I mean, don't give me that you're an artist and want to sleep all day long. Get up and craft your business. Get on your website early. Update new songs. Build people. Find kids to be, twittering for you, putting Facebook posts. That's going to get our attention. You know,
Yeah.
and then show up, and when you do get a show, get people to it.
Yeah, and we have Root Music's here later this afternoon, Jay Sider, and what Root Music does is build Bandpage. If you guys ever use Bandpage, it's on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's the music player. One of the music players. Reverb Nation is here as well. That's what I think Kevin's alluding to. Is that's how you present yourself, right? A website obviously is a front page or a door to you, what you're about. Facebook is that. So your presence and making it easy for guys like Kevin, guys like Bill, Eddie, and Scott is a clean, easy to read. I just want to check out a couple of your songs, presented well, easy for me to get. How to get in contact with you? That's step one. But yeah, you have to work. I think that's the entitlement days are over. I would say. Marco, yeah. Sorry,
I mean,
go ahead.
I would say one of the key things to just remember is that, like, first of all, what he said, just to reiterate what he said, it's so important to just be willing to, if you want to rise above the dull roar now, you've got to be willing to stay up later and get up earlier than the next band and just work hard. And there's no excuses anymore. It's not, oh, my manager's lazy or my record label sucks, because you have all of the resources that used to be guarded by, behind these gates now those resources are available to you with all the social networking avenues that are out there. So really, the best way to win, if you want to do this, is to get out there and really establish almost personal relationships with each fan. Just build your thing one, brick by brick, one fan at a time, and really communicate with your fans on a regular basis so they know what's going on with your band. Hey, we just had band practice, and John had an argument with Mike, but it was really funny because then he knocked over his energy drink until he fried his amp. Just, talk about stuff, make it feel personal, and the most important thing is, honey gets you further than vinegar. Just be nice, be cool, be reliable, be sweet. When they told you to get there at 3 o'clock for sound check, and you get there at 3 o'clock, and the sound man's not there till 4 o'clock, you just go, cool, man, I'm gonna go get a cup of coffee, and we'll be back. Don't go, what the fuck, man, that's lame.
Yeah.
You have to.
We get that a lot.
You have to,
Promoters.
that will come with years and years. Once they need you more than you need them. But just be sweet. The monitors don't work. Just play the show anyway. Don't complain. Don't cuss out the sound man.
Can you
nice.
run around to our clubs tonight and just make sure that all the bands know that?
It's so important.
4:30.
It's a small world. It's a really small world, and you got to look at it like this. You're the band that somehow eked out a gig at Velvet Jones on a Tuesday night. You show up. You're super cool. You do your best to bring your friends. You play a good set. You're cheerful. You play that show like you're playing in front of the Warped Tour, in front of a sea of people. You give it your all. You don't play like you're playing to the bartender.
Yeah.
Play it the next night. A touring band's going to be in town, so they're going to be sitting around making conversation at soundcheck. Hey, what's up? Any good local bands?
Wait, you got to learn.
Yeah.
The best thing Marco story I ever have real quick was we were in Detroit. 32,000 people show up for the Warped Tour in Detroit. It was one of our biggest shows. I come up to these guys, be nice, remember that? You guys have to play first.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You guys were like, fuck, Kevin, this bullshit. We got to play first. I'm like, yeah, get up there. I guarantee you a great show. And you guys got up on stage, and it's still one of my fondest memories was we had pushed to get the kids in. So there's about 28,000 kids in there when they went on, and they were the first note of the day, and all 28,000 ran to that stage. Remember that show? The Silverdome parking lot? The stage got torn apart.
I do remember that. The one I remember even more, though, is the first Warped Tour show. And this was where we were, a band from Santa Barbara. We'd played some, club shows here and there. And then we get our first real actual tour, the Warped Tour. And it's June, I want to say 20th, 2001. And we're in Phoenix, Arizona. And it's like
124.
16 degrees out or whatever. And we've got, it's like we're playing the side stage, the Maurice stage. So we got all our gear there. We're all tuned up and ready. And someone comes and finds us like, dude, what are you guys doing? You guys are like on in like 5 minutes on the main stage over there. You're the first band of the day on the main stage. It's our first show of the Warped Tour. We don't even know who's who or what's what yet. And we're like, what are you talking about? They're like, yeah, every once in a while, Kevin will just like, decide to put a band that's on the smaller stage on the main stage, just to kind of like, throw you in the deep end. And so suddenly we're like, we didn't have any crew. We went and grabbed a dumpster and took out there wasn't that many trash bags in it yet, threw all our guitars in it and rolled it like across the field through the crowd to the side of the stage. We get up there, they're like, what the fuck, dude, you guys, you're blowing it. Your first day on the Warped Tour, you're already like late for your, and we just plug in,
Show up with a trash
hope
bag.
your guitar's still in tune, plug in and start playing. And we look on the side of the stage and the guys in Rancid are there with a camera. And I'm just going, oh, dude, this is totally a prank. They're totally like, we're the sacrificial lambs. I know we're going to get, like the guys in Rancid are like planning some jackass kind of stunt. They're going to come out and like pants us or something.
So did you play?
They were stoked.
Did it?
They were like, we just thought you guys looked cool, so we wanted to see what it was like. They were totally cool. They became fans and friends. The show went great and everything was good. But the point is, you just got to be cool and you got to show up and you just got to make the best of
And
it
I think
because
that-
nothing's going to be perfect. It's always going to be, ramshackle.
I think that speaks to another thing. Make friends with other bands, like Marco just alluded to.
That's
he Rancid's filming them, and now they're friends, and they can play together. Have you ever played with Rancid?
No, we haven't.
It might be weird.
We haven't. That'd be weird.
Yeah, you're a little more
they're nice
confident
guys.
than them. If it's also about what we try to do at New Noise is connect bands with other bands. So if a band has a good draw in San Diego, we'll have one of our bands that I know can sell out Muddy Waters. Invite them to play there. They need a gig in Santa Barbara. They don't have an audience here. They'll help you out in San Diego. So remember that, be cool with the money as well. Understand there's not much money at small shows, So give the traveling band, or be cool and let the traveling band, even if you're headlining a local show, give them an extra $50 for gas. You know, that stuff goes a long way and it comes back. It's kind of like, I don't want to sound like a hippie, but it is like the circle kind of. And if you help other bands, they'll help you. And that's how you build little markets. I do want to open up for some questions. Does someone have the wireless mic? Rob? Does anyone have any questions? Let's if you have a question, just raise your hand and maybe someone, a volunteer, can throw a mic and just, introduce yourself, say who the question's for, if it's general, and let's do that.
This guy's first.
All right. Thank you, Matthew.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Trevor Blair. I run a company called Revolutionary Entertainment. Excellent to be here today. Great connections. Kevin, I'm a big fan of yours. Always love your stuff, and I've got to book Surecall too. So my question specifically is, as far as the touring goes, I go after more of an all-ages crowd. So when you try to do national tours, it's mostly bars which are 21 and over. What advice do you have into kind of getting into those colleges and getting into those high schools? Do most places let you bring in bands? What does that process usually look like?
Is that for Kevin?
Kevin or the whole panel, if anybody can answer.
I think Eddie might be.
Well,
good at
as
that.
far as all ages is concerned, you can play anywhere and everywhere. Anywhere there's power. Even if there isn't power, just set up and play acoustically. Hit every coffee house, hit every street corner, hit every house party, you name it. There's a whole world that exists outside of the bars. And like you said, it's all ages, so you want to hit the kids. And the kids are more passionate about this sort of thing. You'll sell merch, you'll live off merch basically. But don't leave any stone unturned. Like, hit everywhere you can. Hit every high school. Just call the AS boards of every university and AS boards of every high school as well. Even junior highs, you can play during their nooners or what have you.
Yeah, and that's actually not a bad. I think because you're a promoter, yes. Yeah. So, I know a couple actually local companies who do this for a living. Like, they book bands at high schools, and those bands do really well in different markets now because they've been playing high schools since they were for 5 years, and now
Their fans grow up with
now
them.
yeah, Tommy and the High Pilots did it. Great local band, and they have great crowds in weird places because people like you were like looking for, how do I get an all ages show in let's say Detroit, like Kevin was talking about. It's you have to actually call. Eddie just switched. You had a show, face to face, that had to get switched last moment.
Yeah, we did it at a pizza place
Unusual
in
spots.
Lancaster.
Yeah.
Seriously, like
Pizza
the
shop.
D and E and F markets, even the Z markets, hit every place. I'm serious. Like,
What's
there's
Santa Barbara? Are we a Z or are we D? We're B. C?
C-ish.
C-ish?
I would say,
C
yeah.
plus? Okay.
But there's kids everywhere, man. Like, honestly, like, you can hit every town. There's going to be like 10, 15 kids. And like Marco said, you win the crowd one kid at a time.
Anyone else's question?
And that's a really good point. And this is kind of a tangent, but it's so important to define your band, define, okay, where is our audience? Who is our audience? What kind of bands do we like? It's very tempting to get swept away with the idea of like, well, to make it big means you get signed to a record label. To play shows means you go to State Street and play at bars. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way, and you may be wasting a lot of time if you're a young band that appeals to an all ages crowd and you're going and playing at a bar where people basically just want to, get wasted and meet someone and get laid and maybe dance to like the new Kesha remix. You know what I mean? That happened with my band. We would go play a club and they would have us play and you felt like you were just kind of like this obstacle. Like, people are like, all right, are you done with your original music so we can dance because we want to get wasted and have fun, Whereas you go play like Bakersfield in the basement of Jerry's Pizza, and those people are so bored, the kids are so bored, and there's nothing for them to do, it's going to be packed, and they're going to be so stoked that you're there, and they're going to be so stoked to meet people from another town, and you're going to hang out, and you're going to make friends and find out where their bands are, and you're going to trade shows, and you're going to come back and open for them, and you're going to have them come to your hometown and open for you at your party. When we were all growing up in Santa Barbara, we used to rent out the Red Barn in Isla Vista and have like 10 bands play, or we'd have a driveway. We'd go skateboard after high school, go skateboard down Sabado Tardy, ask someone, hey, is it cool if you clear out the cars out of your driveway this weekend and open your window so we can plug a extension cord in? And they'd say, yeah, as long as you give us $30 so we can buy a keg for our friends. Done. and then we had a show. Next trip was to Kinko's to make flyers and say, hey, guess what? We're playing at 4750 Trigo. And that was the show. And that's how we built all the bands that now became NoFX and Lagwagon and Sugar Cult and the Mad Caddies and the Ataris and Nerf Herder and and Snot and Incubus and all these bands that came from this region. They weren't groomed by playing at nightclubs. They were groomed by playing on the streets, playing at parties, and making a huge group of fans that were like their champions and would go out there and be like, yeah. So when those bands get success, you got people going, fuck yeah, I was an early adopter of that band. I saw them when they were playing in the driveway. I love them for life. Not, I heard them on the radio, and so I think they're kind of cool, so I'm going to go watch their show and hang around for the encore so I can hear the radio single. That's not how you want it to play out.
Hearing Marco talk about the Red Barn, I mean, I used to go to shows at the Red Barn when I was really young, and it was probably the most dangerous thing I could choose to do. Because I wanted to see a band. And that's the thing about the young kids, too. Like, whether it's, I mean, one of the coolest things that might happen in a young kid's high school or junior high school career is seeing some cool rock and roll band at lunch in their, you know, Greek theater or cafeteria. Making that available to them is gigantic, not just for the band's success, but for them. The fan will grow up with the band, and at some point, enough of them will maybe decide to be in a band, or maybe decide, that's so cool, I want to do this all the time. I want to book bands all the time so I can see them, or I want to tour manage. And there's less resistance there because you've seen less. So something like the Red Barn, even though it was literally a barn, I think about the barn and Bersodi's and the IV scene all the time, because I want kids to come out and rock out and have fun and be cool.
Do we have any other questions?
I'll ask a question.
Yeah, don't be shy.
How should a band know when they should stop playing for free?
Oh, that's a good question. Kev?
I don't know. I think you should try to, you know, as quickly as possible, try to establish some value to your appearance. You know, doesn't have to be much. It could be $1, $2. It's just like music. You know, we taught a generation to steal music, so it's really been hard to assign a value back with iTunes at $1 a track. I mean, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, you could pick and choose. You're always going to play free shows. As big as you get, someday you're gonna have to do something as a favor to play. But establish some sort of value to what you do. Even if it's $1, you know, and it's for gas, and you know we need to get to the next town, people will appreciate that performance. I mean, you guys do a lot of. I mean, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard on bands right now. You know, there's so much out there. But how do you guys feel about playing for free all the time?
I think the amount of pay should be congruent with the draw. That easy.
And just what will the market bear if you're playing, you know, playing a show where it may not happen if there's no money in it for a band, or it may not happen unless there's no money in it for a band. Those are just two things that can make a show happen. Can we get enough people to pay this band enough so that they want to play, or can we just say we're going to play for free because if we don't, there won't be an audience, you know, or can we get $1 from everybody? Or if someone can pay $5, can we, you know, bro someone out who's truly skint and doesn't have anything but lint in their pocket?
Yeah, and I think that actually speaks to another point. One of the problems that we see, especially in the local music scene, and I think is we have a lot of great bands in Santa Barbara especially. We book a number of shows. We don't book a ton of shows, but you know, once you get to the level, and maybe Kevin and Scott can speak to this too, once you get to the level where you can play, don't play so much. Make it an event. And I don't know, Scott, if you teach your artists, you know, obviously who support your venue, how do you tell them, like, you know, because you want them to play, even if they have a great draw, maybe they get 100 people on average, but if they don't play for a month in the hood, maybe they'll get 3.
Yeah, it's not so much how often you play. It's what you're bringing to each show and making each show somewhat different. There was a band I worked with that I kind of adopted their technique in giving advice to other bands. They wouldn't book another show until they had finished their show that they had just booked, and then they would then they would
That used to be the model in general, but now,
Well,
that
there's
used to
other
be how
bands-
we used to all do it, but now everyone's oversaturating.
It could be oversaturating. There's other bands that do very well. There was a band, Cold War Kids, who probably some people have heard of here, who got on my good side because they took any show I would give them. I'd say, hey, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I had a band cancel at 9. Can you play? And they'd come show up and kind of blow everyone away. And that was their technique. They were a great band, and they picked up those fans really quick, and they got word out really quick. And there was other bands that kind of got the word out by scarcity and made like this other band where they wouldn't book a show until their show was done. They put all their focus in that one event, and they made it unique. And it was all that anyone who was interested in the band had to talk about was that next show, and then they would give themselves another challenge the next time.
How do you do that on Warped Tour, Kevin? Do you have radius clauses? Do you let bands play when they're on Warped Tour at small venues?
I mean, the conundrum that our business is in right now, how many of you guys are artists right now?
Yeah.
How many of you only make money when you're playing live shows? How many of you can make money, how many of you making money on your records right now? Okay, do you sell them yourself? You're selling them yourselves. So we've kind of reached this point where the artist, we're in this, 3 years ago, touring was going to be the savior of our business. Everyone hit the road, at the stuff I do. Then everyone hit the road in Australia. And then I'd go to hit the road in Japan, and I'd walk out of the hotel room, and I'd see 8 bands that we should have all been playing together. They're all headlining their own shows. Now bands are going to Iceland, they're going to Greece. Every niche in this country is now, South America is the open door. Everyone's going to South America. 5 years doesn't. But people touring, so in the United States, we've got a problem. And like you say, booking another show, it's really weird when you haven't played your show and there's already an ad for another show. We do have a radius clauses on our tour. Usually the radius clause, it's a challenge because I understand with Warped Tour, I'm really trying to hold people to 90 days before and 30 days after. I think it's fair. It used to be 120 days and 60 days after. I understand they have to go on the road. I'm trying to protect a brand that, I'm putting out $6 or $8 million a year to put the Warped Tour out right now. And you got the agent telling you, and everyone tells you all day long their bands are doing great. Now you call one phone call, you can call Eddie, and he can tell you 5 cities. Well, here's the real ticket counts, We keep in contact. It is a challenge, and the bands, at every level. When do you stop touring, or when do you not tour? I pay a premium. This year, Slipknot for Mayhem, they haven't really toured the States in 4 years. So I'm putting a premium that there's going to be a pent-up demand for that band. And when am I gone too long? There's bands that come back and, well, does anyone remember you? I've got an agent, Eve Six, pushing me going, Eve, I don't think they're relevant anymore, and I hate to say it, so it's a balance. It's really hard on you guys because I know what it's, you got to go out there and work, and if you don't have a side job, which I keep saying, get a side job.
Cover band?
Cover band to make money. So your real band can go out and tour. There's nothing wrong with doing covers once in a while and playing weddings. No one knows you're doing them.
I think that's actually a really good point. I think if you're going to be an artist today, you really need to embrace the idea of diversifying. Most of like another example of a Santa Barbara band that's gone on to pretty good success is a band called Lagwagon. Well, Lagwagon, you can get Lagwagon once in a while, or you can get Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, which features members of Lagwagon doing covers, and they are a good time. It's guys from Lagwagon, NoFX, and Swingin' Utters. Or you could just get Joey Cape to probably play in a room the size of one of the hotel rooms up there in front of 40 people that grew up loving Lagwagon. I've never seen Joey up close because they were always in the mosh pit. He was up on stage at the House of Blues or whatever, and they get to have an intimate experience with just Joey up there with an acoustic guitar singing mellow versions of the songs that you grew up on, and now you can sip on an IPA and enjoy your date and watch Joey do
Don't drink IPA.
those songs as a grown-up. That's awesome. Joey's smart. He's a lifer. He's doing this for so he can still get up on stage with Lagwagon and do that thing. Diversify. Have someone in your band, the singer go out and do smaller places, or once a week on the street corner do an acoustic thing. Have the guitar player of your band go do DJ sets. Get involved. Immerse yourself in the scene that you want to be in. Have your drummer play in another band in town too. Immerse yourself in this. Be a scene. I always like to steal the phrase from the environmental movement. Think globally, act locally. You want to be the biggest band in the world. You want to be on the main stage of the Warped Tour. What can you do in Goleta? Okay, now you did that. What can you do in Santa Barbara? Okay, now you did that. What's going on in
Yeah.
Oxnard, in Bakersfield, in Fresno? What's around you? What's going on in Orange County? Make little road trips. Communicate with other bands. Don't bite off more than you can chew. You know, just be really successful right here in this room, and then outside, and then on the street, and then at the next suburb over, you know, in Carpinteria or whatever.
Let's take another question. Matt? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I kind of have a question for the people that book gigs. Like, say I'm a heavy metal band, like nothing too scary, but like, how do I get booked? Like, if I'm not
Be scarier.
scarier?
I mean, metal's a tricky thing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in the middle of the metal world with Mayhem Festival. I've worked in metal. It was always my side gig to punk rock, you know, and the punkers would hate me because I was working metal because, you know, punk paid the bills, metal bought me surfboards. Now metal pays for private schools and insurance for everyone, and punk rock pays my bills. But metal is really hard because at the top they don't want you to succeed. Unlike punk rock, where we embraced each other and we kind of brought the bands up, and you know, all those bands, Nerve Her, all those bands kind of was a scene. Metal, there's a really tough ceiling to break through. You know, it's growing, you know, underground. Go to Montreal, move there. They love metal up there. You know, they really do. I'd go up there because there was a good scene. You got to find it, or find other bands. You know, Florida, tons of metal bands down there. How did metal for you guys do just on a regular show thing right now, like on a small?
I mean, you're definitely right, Kevin. There's not as much camaraderie in the metal scene. I mean, there's certain splinters of it. There's camaraderie, like in the hardcore scene or what have you. But for the most part, it seems like there's, you know, this probably dates back, I'm going to rewind here, to like in the 80s, the metal ethic was to get signed and get big and get popular and get laid. And punk rock was all about community and making a statement and being nonconformist. And so maybe some of that ethic is carried over to wanting to get signed and sell out and what have you. So maybe that sense of community is hitting that obstacle. It's not there because of that.
So what's your band? What's the name of your band?
That's it? That's awesome.
That would be amazing.
Joking.
That's a good name for a band right there.
That's great.
Oh, okay. No, it's cool. I was just asking if you had a band.
What's it?
Well, get us a demo at the end of the show. Yeah,
If you have one, yeah. But,
Call him Jeff and the
no,
Plus Ones.
I completely agree. I think the metal's tough because I love metal.
I mean, I have a
tough.
saying.
Oh,
What
I
was
do
my
too.
saying? I told you the same, Mark. When I went to Soho last night and just kind of chilled and listened to it because I had a Slayer negotiating day yesterday. It beats the hell out of you. Even at this level, I've been doing this 30 years, and just negotiating the fine points with a band like that is painful. It's everything I hate about what I do, but to be able to have side stages where I can put Five Finger Death Punch and the young metal bands, and just to be able to do what I do, I have to spend those days with it and drag on forever, and it's painful.
Plus,
It's
it's
not-
Slayer, man.
What?
It's Slayer.
It's the guys in Slayer are cool, but it's the people they surround themselves with at
Yeah.
the top. And those guys are so desperately hanging on to something that doesn't really exist anymore. The managers, the agents, and everything. It doesn't exist, and they want it to exist. And they want, you know, why is there only 8 or 10 bands that headline metal festivals? Really, it's weird. And they always repackage with each other. And we were fighting so hard. And I thought that I was there with Five Finger Death Punch. We've been working with them, you know, for a few years and brought them up on side stage. And as soon as they got to this level, all of a sudden the price went through the roof. They're not worth what they want. And you know what? It's like, it's just like, it's weird. It's good luck with it, you know.
One
No,
thing.
I think
you know?
metal should have that's a good point, actually. You know, try to group together with other, metal artists.
Book a
And
cruise,
build a scene.
man.
Yeah.
Build a scene.
Run a
If
cruise
there's not
ship.
a scene, build one.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a metal band, you know, my little hole in the wall is not conducive to metal because there's things that can be broken in there. But if you build a scene where you can either, you know, be your own venue or approach a venue that is like mine, and if it's a small scene, if you've got someone who's enough of an asshole to ask you, is your scene going to fuck up my scene? And you can say, I don't think so. You might be good to go because I like metal, but I know it's tricky when you're in a room and things can break. And then also, if I can't take you, you know, Phil's in here somewhere, I think, you can be Phil and say, okay, on the day you can't take me, maybe we can do something else. And then when I'm trying to do my thing in a room that can take a few punches, you can help me out. if you can't handle this band because they're too rowdy, I know the mellow band that is just really into shredding, and their audience is not rowdy, and we can put them in your small place. If you can't get booked, be a venue or be an agent or just make something.
What do you think are the main obstacles to getting booked? What have you found are the main obstacles?
I don't know, it's just people that like just basically like not getting the whole place like torn up or trashed, or just like any just being like assholes like on the road. Like what do you think like bands should be like easier to be like more like friendly to?
No, I mean I'm
What would make like my band a lot easier for you guys to deal with, like all the hassles and stuff like that, like he was saying, like all the management and all that HR stuff I really don't understand. Like if I was to find a way somehow to cut through all that BS and make it easier for you guys to put us on, what would I do that?
well, I never think tension is really something necessarily against a rock show, but it can lend itself to that, and we don't, you're going to put on a metal show or folk rock show, and taking chances that things are going to break and things are going to happen. I've never necessarily seen that metal artists are necessarily more prone to destroy your stuff. But
Usually you find the metal artists that we work with, like at a certain level, like the hardest working guys, because they know how hard it is. The young bands, man, if I have an interview or they need some work done, or they're the first ones to update their websites. I mean, the young metal guys know how hard, and they get into a work pattern really easy. And usually backstage, like the nicest guys just chill.
And they're
like,
super pro too, right?
Yeah,
They're all
super
working guitarists.
gear, their stuff. It's you're gonna have to work real hard to break out. That's all it is. Just and write good songs. And find the niche within metal that you can grow out of,
One thing
with
that
a
metal-
Mastodon shirt. How long has Mastodon been around? And beating it out, and beating it out, and beating it out. And now all of a sudden they're getting a little radio play. And that's scary, because all of a sudden Mastodon should be a massive band. We've had them on our festival. I mean, but there's this pressure once you hit to a certain point to stay at that point, because all of a sudden you start competing against these other 8 bands for the big money in metal. They don't want a 9th band or a 10th band.
Let's take a couple more questions. We're running out of time, but I think we have a mic right here. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Steve. How do you know as a band if you have the critical mass you need to take a road trip to an area? So, if you're a Phoenix band, how do you know when it's time to drive 8 hours to the LA area? If you're down here, how do you know it's time to go to the Bay Area? So on and so forth.
And get a band in LA that's like-minded, that you figure can share an audience, and say, hey, why don't you come down and open for us in Phoenix, because we have a built-in draw. Bring us up there and be a cushion. Let us open for you. So all of a sudden you're sharing in the audience. Just driving out, it's hard to tell. What's that band? The new website that's pretty cool. Bands City or Bands.
Bands in town.
Bands in town. I mean, there's things to start using tools like that. I mean, we're even using it on our tours now. Bands in town's growing into a big thing right now.
There's a lot of great online resources, but I think when you're ready is when you have enough fans in your own town. You'll know. You'll be like, we got to get out on the road. We got to hit some other towns. We're blowing up.
This might sound a little romantic and idealistic, but don't forget hopefully the reason you do this at all is because it's fun and you enjoy it and it's fulfilling and it's worthwhile in and of itself. I don't think music should be done as a means to an end or as a avocation because it's something you feel as a good, it's a good career path. It should be done because it's your passion and because it's fun and you like making up songs with your friends. And the reason you want to play a show isn't because you want to make money. The reason you want to play a show is because you want to share that music with other people. You want to experience communion, which is happiness including other people. You want to be in a room where other people are going to go, fuck, that was rad. And you're like, yeah, well, this is rad. Check out this other song we made up. And you're stoked on it. So you want to take it to other people because you already played it for the people in your hometown a bunch of times. And it's fun to go to San Francisco. It's fun to go to San Diego. Stay there for 3 days, hang out, go to the record stores, go to other shows, meet the local musicians, meet the local bands, make friends. Then they'll come up and hang out, stay at your house, sleep on your couch, hang out with your friends, party with you. That's how it should start. And then it can grow into something, maybe, if people dig it, and you're organized, then it grows into a business. Start it for the right reasons.
Marco's saying it's about the journey, not the destination.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Should always be.
I completely agree.
Hopefully it's still that way for Slayer and all the big bands too.
doubt it.
You know,
I
it
think-
becomes
I
a
think-
business.
I think Kevin will
No,
know.
usually at my level, it's about alimony, child support, things like that.
No, I mean, even at my level, I mean, I own a house and I have 2 kids and I'm an adult and I have responsibilities. And yeah, if Sugar Cult gets booked, I care about how much money we're getting paid. I care about how many T-shirts we sold. But at the end of the day, I do it because I love doing it. It's fun to do. And that's how it should be at the beginning. And hopefully try to hang on to that through all the scary business shit that goes down and just, because this stuff can break your heart if you don't keep your heart in the right place.
All right,
You
we
gotta
have
protect yourself.
time for about 1 or 2 more questions because we were 10 minutes behind.
So
Brad?
speaking of the scary business shit that goes down, Kevin, you were talking about your budget's somewhere between $6 and $8 million a year. So for the people in the room that are non-artists, what are the career paths that are opening up, or what opportunities do you see for people to come around and support the music industry who aren't artists but love it and want to be around it and want to have a career path into the business?
Well, I mean, it's definitely, we were all talking about, a lot of with internet and web and social media. 10 years ago, we didn't have new media managers in companies like ours, Now I have social media network controllers, or, it's so funny that the new jobs in music are being created. If you're sitting around and waiting to go to work for Capitol Records or one of these things, don't. I mean, it's the new business models are being created all the time. I mean, and sadly, most of them are being created out of Silicon Valley. I like to say that, I walked into Capitol Records a long time ago. I managed Less Than Jake, and Roy Lott pounded the table when I started meeting Sean Fanning and Sean Parker, and said, Napster's an awesome thing. Let me give away a song. I was managing it, and he pounded the table and said, we will never allow music to be digitally distributed. I turned to Vinny and go, dude, it's over. And we walked out the door. But now it's like, it's changing back to, there are the opportunities now being created. I speak at university, I say, the new jobs are the ones you create. If you get in line for a job in the music business, there's 2,000 people looking for that job right now. You're going to create those new jobs. And they're niche jobs. And, it's this whole thing about community. We have a thing called the EIY program that we take across the country. And the biggest thing I picked up was that the local scenes were bickering. And that was one of the big things I fought, because the Warped Tour, I was with the bands. You're all artists. If you're an artist, the music business is going to be recreated by artists. It's not the old managers. It's not the old labels. It's being recreated by kids in garages. The new technologies, I can't even keep up. I'm trying really desperately. But all I can do is hear a good song. I'm old, kind of like hearing a good song in live shows. But I have people around me now, and I'm hiring people that are coming in and going, I know I can help your company better, because here's what I can do.
So I think what Kevin's saying too is there are jobs being created right now. You just have to know and use your skill, whether it's online, social networking, community building, and trying to figure out a way. New Noise started because a couple of us got together and thought it was a good idea.
Yeah.
And we thought, hell, I want to work in music. I'm a crappy musician, but I love music.
Yeah, I mean-
and I wanted to try to do this.
I mean, there is press. I mean,
Yeah.
press, with traditional press, I'm just saying it's like that's an area that you want to go to work for MSO or one of the big companies. But really, any of us can reach the 4 publications that cover music now. But some kid walked in and says, here's the 100 music blogs that I did research for.
Mm-hmm.
I have a plan to be able to reach all of them and help you. And I'm going, 100 music blogs, and you know what? I hired them. They got the job, and I'm pulling money back from my traditional press spend to give it to this kid that's going to monitor all these blogs and create contests and create things for us and place the young bands, because a lot of bands that I book don't have publicists. They're going to be a surrogate publicist to make sure these kids are getting representation in blogs. And that was a job they brought into me. Nonprofits. So many nonprofits are involved in music right now. That's an avenue that's a growing area of monitoring. We help start Keep Abreast through Warped Tour. There's To Write Love on Their Arms and all the charities. Music Cares. There's all these things. There's jobs in that space. There's jobs still in the corporate world. It's funny how they really are learning that music is still so important. We're spending against, sponsorships for small bands and large bands. Almost every company is now hiring, even if they didn't have them, someone to be their music manager. But there's a lot of opportunities out there.
One more question. Matt, you got
I have a question for Kevin. My name is Paul Mann. I'm a music journalist, and I have a political question about how you manage to maintain the balance between all of your corporate sponsors, because you're probably one of the most corporate-sponsored shows, and your anarchical, crazy bands that you have to put up with. I know I used to write for Warped magazine, actually.
Oh, yeah.
In the old surf days, I was a
Fran
surf.
gave me the name to use.
Yeah. And your concerts, they maintain that sort of crazy anarchy, I guess is the word for it. And they're dangerous. I mean, you go there and the kids are crowd surfing and they're having a good time. And I'm just curious how you balance that between the lawyers of the corporate guys.
No one dictates their thought on an artist. I mean, we're not asking an artist. It took a long time, you know, and I maybe repeat, but with Vans, when they signed up, they weren't allowed to be up on the stages at first. They had to earn the respect of the artists, and the artists do it. You know, we don't ask, you know, it was weird because I wouldn't take the military for a while because I thought they were tricking kids to join the military. And we turned down hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to not let them recruit on site. But now, like, if you're signing up for the military, hopefully you've read the papers and see there's a chance you're going to come back dead. So, you know what? We've integrated certain things, let them come back in, and sort of the Air Force National Guard, which I think is a pretty cool organization. I don't know, PETA comes out, sometimes you have Spam and PETA, and they put stickers, don't eat Spam, you know. But it isn't, we don't push it on the bands. Did you ever feel that we were pushing our corporate sponsors on you?
Not at all.
But
I was stoked to get a free pair of Vans, though.
Yeah. You know, but now the funniest thing is when I do confirm a band, the next question is from the manager or the what sponsor can I get involved in? Because we transfer money now, because I realize you're not getting tour support and the things that used to get you down the road. The first question they ask is, who can we sign for? Because you know what? If you're signing out there on the Warped Tour for one of the sponsors, you're getting paid anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a day. And that helps your tour support. So I'm now transferring that money that you can't get from your labels or your tour support back to the artists that couldn't get their, you know, get down the road. So you may be getting a $1,000 guarantee, but if you can sign for $500 a day extra and build that relationship, and I see those relationships spinning off outside the Warped Tour. So all of a sudden you're getting paid $50,000 to play some event for them. You know, it's a balance. It's just not preachy. We don't, sometimes maybe on stage I sound like I'm preaching, but I don't, you know, the artists we don't preach to. You know, we let them figure out what they want to be involved in and what they don't want to be involved with.
We got one last question, and then if you want to talk about the living room, for those of you who don't know, we're reopening a drug and alcohol-free music venue in Santa Barbara. There's little cards. Alan Viscara is around handing these out. His email's there. Please do check this out and sign up and help support and get involved like we've been talking about. It'll be a great resource for all of us in Santa Barbara and especially artists. Matt, last question.
I'm a local artist in Santa Barbara, and I was wondering what your thoughts or advice are booking a tour as a solo artist versus booking with a band, or like being a band and booking, or as a solo artist trying to book a tour up and down the coast.
Solo's better. Cheaper to get places.
Yeah,
Do
solo's
you go
the
by
route to go.
yourself? Are you like driving up and down? What are like some of the things you do? Do you latch on to another group and travel with them? Or?
I think Eddie.
I like what you just said. Why don't you go get a job working for another band as the person who sells their T-shirts, or helps, you know, production manage or something like that, in exchange for some living expenses and an opportunity to get up on stage for 15 minutes and open this with your solo thing. You know, there's ideas like that where you kind of, you travel on someone else's momentum until you can build enough of your own. You know, that's an idea.
We get this all the time now where bands will basically be 1.5 bands to save tour costs. So you get the guy that sings and another guy from his band, you know. In Portland, they're a 5-piece band, but there's just 2 of them on the road with another band that's their buddies that basically act as their backing band. And this guy's good at one thing and the other guys are good at the other thing. So you can be someone's tour manager and open up for someone and take photos for them. But your tour costs, if you're one person, are a lot less.
But
that's your advantage.
How many times in the last, we do a lot of shows at Muddy Waters, even bigger bands now that play Mud, we half the bands will be sharing equipment, and they're the same band.
Yep.
Like the
There's
same
two-
guitarist, you know.
Yeah.
There's two publications that I think we're getting close to wrapping up.
Yeah,
but
we
two
need to.
publications I'd recommend any of you to read right now. They're written by Martin Atkins, who was a drummer of Pill and Ministry, and now lectures, and I go on tour with him once in a while. He has two books called Tour Smart, and it's a great publication. You get it online by Martin Atkins, and another one called Welcome to the Music Business, Now You're Fucked, okay? Two publications that I would highly recommend. You can buy them online. They're really great. He's talked to a lot of people. He's assimilated a lot of information. Read both of those publications, you know, and that's the thing. Keep reading. That's the funny. I think we all get to this point. There's so much out there right now, and it's very current. Read Polestar every day. Read all this stuff and just see what's kind of going on, so you can be aware what's happening. How many of you read the Live Nation quarterly report that came out 2 days ago? Okay, it may not make a lot of sense, but read it. It came out. They just came out with their quarterly financial report. Biggest thing that happened, yes, their revenues are up. But you know what? Less people bought tickets to shows. There's a problem there. I have to go to New York to speak at the Billboard conference this week, and that's going to be something, it's a kind of a big, and I'm like, you can talk about your revenues being up, less people, you know, your jobs, but you know what? Less people are going to live music. There's a problem there, and we have to fix that. So read those books, you know. I'm sorry, done talking.
No, honestly, that goes to what I was going to say. Please give all these guys a round of applause, and thank you very much, each of you, for coming out on a Saturday morning. All these guys are very busy. They're all going to be hanging around for a little bit, so if you have additional questions, I'm sure they will answer them. Thank you very much for listening to us blabber on, and
let's
we'll start in about 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, let's take it to the lobby too. So
please go to the lobby unless you want to